There is a silence that doesn't come from peace, but from the moment after something familiar becomes strange. When laughter still lingers in the air, but the eyes behind it aren't laughing anymore. Welcome back to the quiet room, where the noise of the world fades and what remains is the silence we never learned to listen to. Tonight's silence lives inside the glow of a screen, inside videos of bright painted smiles and hands that unbox happiness for the world to see. But sometimes, happiness looks straight into the camera and doesn't blink. It began, as all myths do now, not around a fire but on a feed. Late one night in June, a user posted a video, just 30 seconds long. A toy with large glassy eyes and a grin too wide for its face. The caption read, "It moved when I turned the camera off." No proof, just a shaky voice, a flash of movement and silence. Within hours, Labubu was trending. Every legend begins somewhere, and every monster starts as an idea. Before Labubu became a viral obsession, a doll whispered to blink on its own, a face people swore changed in the dark, it was only a sketch, a small, grinning creature drawn by a Hong Kong artist named Ka-Sing Lung. Lung grew up between worlds, Hong Kong and the Netherlands, places where fairy tales met urban neon. He said he wanted to capture that feeling children have right before they fall asleep, when the dark feels almost alive. That's where Labubu was born, a mischievous little monster with sharp teeth, wild eyes, and the grin of something that knows more than it should. Originally, it was part of Lung's art series called The Monsters. Each creature represented a different fragment of emotion: joy, fear, loneliness. Labubu was the trickster, the one that stared back at you. Then, in 2019, the Chinese collectible giant Pop Mart took notice. They turned Labubu into vinyl, blind box collectibles, sealed and random. No one knew which version they'd get. That was the hook. People bought boxes by the dozens, chasing the rarest expressions, as if each smile hid a secret. By 2023, Labubu wasn't just a toy. It was a phenomenon. Blackpink's Lisa posed with it. Influencers called it chaotic cute. Collectors spent thousands on limited editions that sold out in minutes. But that's when the first strange stories began. The doll had already been a collector's craze, limited edition, rainbow hair, that mischievous, impish smile that seemed harmlessly grotesque. But now the smile looked wrong. The comments filled with unease disguised as jokes. "It's cute but cursed. Reminds me of something from a nightmare. Why does it look like it knows something?" And then someone made a connection. A demon's name, a resemblance, a claim that Labubu looked like something out of ancient mythology. No one checked the facts. No one needed to. Because folklore never needs to be true, it only needs to feel true. A video on TikTok, a Labubu's head turning on a shelf. A collector claiming her doll's eyes changed colour overnight. Accounts whispering that the excited macaron edition never blinked quite the same way twice. The artist said nothing. Pop Mart said nothing, but online, the silence became part of the mystery. And like all folklore, the silence made it grow. Soon, people weren't buying Labubu because it was cute. They were buying it because it scared them, because they wanted to see if the rumour was true. The smile had changed. The monster had escaped its box. And somewhere, between art, commerce and hysteria, a new folklore was born. It always starts the same way, with a post. One image, one whisper, one person saying, "Did anyone else notice this?" The Labubu phenomenon didn't just spread through collectors, it spread through screens. Through Reddit threads, TikTok compilations, Discord servers where people traded photos like evidence. And in every photo, the dolls were the same, except for the eyes. In some, they looked too human. In others, too empty. And when people zoomed in, someone always said the same thing. It's looking somewhere else now. Most blamed digital artifacts, compression noise, lens glare, the tricks of a phone camera. But the comments kept growing. People started keeping track, uploading screenshots from different users, different cities, and swore the pupils didn't align, that the same doll looked in different directions depending on who took the photo. The pattern was almost clinical, a single unsettling image, a crowd that can't look away. Then stories begin to multiply. One user swears their doll changes position at night. Another posts that the eyes followed them across the room. Hundreds of videos appeared, each with dim lighting, each filmed at the same trembling distance. Some were fakes, others were jokes, but a few were hard to categorize. One clip showed a doll sitting perfectly still on a table, and behind it, in the reflection of a glass cabinet, something shifted, a fraction too late. Another video captured a child's voice saying, "Stop smiling," before the recording cut out mid-sentence. It didn't matter that most were edited. What mattered was that people believed. Belief spreads faster than truth. It's lighter. It doesn't ask for proof, only participation. The folklore was mutating, alive, as if the collective gaze itself was breathing life into it. And then came the video. No username, no watermark, just a loop. A pink "I found you" Labubu on a white shelf. A single LED light flashing in the corner, and in the reflection of its plastic eyes there's something. Not a face exactly, just a shape. A shape that shouldn't move. The video loops endlessly, only 6 seconds long. Someone adds static. Someone slows it down, and when they do, there's a whisper, faint, layered under the compression hiss. It sounds like laughter. It could have been a glitch. It could have been an edit. But the more people watched, the more versions appeared. Different rooms, different lights, same whisper, same shape, same smile. That's when people began covering their dolls with cloth at night. Some said the eyes reflected faces not in the room. Others said they woke up to the soft rattle of plastic feet shifting on the shelves. It wasn't a haunting. Not yet. It was attention. Thousands of eyes staring at the same grin for hours across the world. Until the boundary between what they saw and what they imagined began to blur. In forums, people started calling it the digital haunting. Not a ghost, but an algorithm. A spirit that didn't need a body, just data. Something that grows every time someone replays the clip or searches the hashtag. It started with a lifestyle influencer. Cheerful, pastel, endlessly unbothered. Until she wasn't. She said her family began falling sick, one by one, days after the Labubu arrived. Nothing dramatic, just headaches, nausea, sleeplessness. But every night, the doll's expression seemed to change. Its grin a little wider, the pupils a shade darker. She filmed herself burning it. That clip, 31 seconds of firelight and shaking breath, was reposted 6 million times before it vanished. The comments still echo. You can't burn what watches. A user on Reddit said the doll moved. Not far, just closer. Every night at exactly 3:14 a.m, they thought they were dreaming, until they filmed it. The footage showed nothing until the 10th second, when the Labubu's head turned ever so slightly toward the camera, and the power cut out. Their last post said, "I threw it out, but sometimes my phone lights up at 3:14 with a notification from an account that doesn't exist anymore." One mother said her son loved collecting Labubu dolls. He'd line them neatly on a shelf, tiny faces grinning in the nightlight glow. One morning, the rare black edition was lying face down on the floor. She tried to lift it, but it felt warm, as if it had been held. That night, she packed every doll into boxes. In the silence that followed, her son whispered, "He didn't want to go in the dark." And then it was a collector, anonymous, quiet, known online only by the username @ToyArchive01. He claimed to collect defective or returned Labubu dolls. He said the eyes were sometimes misaligned, or the smile carved a millimetre too deep. He documented each one, the crooked head, the uneven grin, posting photos tagged #UnboxedTruth. At first, it was harmless fascination, until one night he uploaded a video titled, "It Laughed This Time." The clip was dark. You could only see his hands adjusting the doll on a table. And in the background, a sound. Not quite laughter, not human. Something like static catching a rhythm, the pattern of a giggle distorted by interference. Viewers slowed the audio, played it backward, amplified the frequencies, and swore they heard a word. "Look." The next day the account disappeared, but the video didn't. It was mirrored, shared, reposted, stitched. Each repost added new details, a shadow, a whisper, a face in the background that no one could verify. Truth had died days ago. The myth was feeding on itself now. Over the next weeks, threads filled with stories, people hearing toys shift in their boxes, the hum of screens growing louder in dark rooms, dreams of that same wide grin. Psychologists called it digital pareidolia, the mind's need to find meaning in noise. But folklore scholars saw something else. They said the Labubu phenomenon was proof that in the digital age, myth no longer needs a storyteller. It tells itself, through algorithms, fear, and the echo chamber of shared imagination. Every like, every comment was an offering, and the algorithm was the new altar. Months later, a journalist tracked down a warehouse in a quiet corner of Hong Kong. Boxes stacked to the ceiling. Returns, defects, unwanted units. The dolls sat in rows, faces identical, eyes fixed forward. The journalist described the air as charged. He said the place sounded alive, though nothing moved. He filmed a short clip, just to prove he'd been there. At first, it was ordinary. Boxes, silence. And then, as he turned toward the door, a single clatter, as if something small had fallen behind him. He didn't look back. He uploaded the video the same night, but before it finished processing, the platform flagged it for visual anomalies. When it was finally released, viewers noticed something strange. In the reflection of a distant window, the boxes weren't still. They were breathing. Experts later said it was compression artifact, frames dropping, pixels ghosting, a trick of light, heat, and poor encoding. They said that's all it ever was. A trick. A collective performance, a mass hallucination of the internet, fueled by boredom and hysteria. And maybe they were right. But if you slow down that clip, just before the end, you'll see one of the boxes fall open. And in the last frozen frame, for the briefest second, a glassy eye reflects the light in perfect focus, as if it's looking back. Some say the original post, the one that started it all, still resurfaces now and then, It appears in unrelated feeds under new usernames, as if the platform itself remembers. The video always ends mid-laugh, always glitching in the same rhythm. And if you turn the volume up high enough, you can almost hear the static forming a word. Not look, not laugh. Just the sound of a breath drawn too close to the mic, as if something is waiting for you to blink. Every age invents its own demons. We build them out of pixels now and feed them with attention. This was the quiet room. So tonight, shut the door, kill the light, because smiles like that don't fade in the dark. They wait for you to look again. Low hum resolves into a final, empty click.